Let me ask you something. How many things are you trying to focus on right now? Your career, your health, your relationships, your side project, your finances, your personal growth, all at once, every single day, and somehow nothing is moving forward. Gary Keller spent decades building one of the largest real estate companies in the world, and he says the reason most people never get there is not because they do too little. It is because they try to do too much. This is the book that changed how he thought about everything, and it might change how you think too. Keller built Keller Williams Realty into a billion-dollar company. But there was a period where everything was falling apart. The company was struggling. His health was declining. His relationships were suffering. And he realized something, that most successful people eventually discover you cannot do everything, and trying to means you do nothing well. So he asked himself one question, the question that became the foundation of this entire book: what is the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? That question changed everything. But before we get into the solution, Keller wants to destroy 6 lies that are quietly ruining your productivity. And here is where it gets interesting, because you probably believe all 6 of them. Lie number 1, everything matters equally. Most people treat their to-do list like a democracy. Every task gets a vote. Every item gets equal attention. Keller says this is wrong. Not everything matters equally, not even close. A few things matter enormously. Most things barely matter at all. Think about this. If you have 10 tasks today, one of them is worth more than all the others combined. The problem is, most people never find that one. They just work through the list, top to bottom, feeling busy, going nowhere. Lie number 2, multitasking works. Here is the truth. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain cannot focus on 2 things simultaneously. What it actually does is switch rapidly between tasks, and every switch has a cost. Mental energy, focus, quality. Studies show people who multitask make more errors, take longer to finish, and remember less of what they did. You are not doing 2 things at once. You are doing 2 things, both badly. Lie number 3. A disciplined life. Now this one surprised me when I read it. Keller says, you do not need more discipline. You need less. The most successful people are not more disciplined than everyone else. They have simply chosen one area to apply discipline until it becomes a habit. And once something is a habit, it no longer requires discipline. It just happens. The goal is not to be disciplined about everything. The goal is to be disciplined about one thing, long enough for it to become automatic. Lie number 4, willpower is always on will call. Think about this. When do you make your worst decisions? Late at night, after a long day. When you are tired and stressed, that is not a coincidence. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes throughout the day, and here is the part most people miss. Every decision you make, every distraction you resist, every temptation you fight, drains your willpower account, so by the time evening comes, you have almost nothing left. This is why Keller says, do your most important work first, when your willpower is at its highest, before the day drains it. Lie number 5, a balanced life. Now, this one will make some people uncomfortable. Keller says, balance is a lie, not forever, but in the short term, extraordinary results require extraordinary focus, and extraordinary focus means some things will be temporarily out of balance. Think about every great achievement you have ever made. Did it happen because you spread yourself evenly across everything, or because you went all in on one thing for a period of time? Keller is not saying neglect everything. He is saying, accept that at any given time, one thing deserves more of you than everything else combined. Lie number 6, big is bad. Most people play small, not because they lack ability, but because they lack permission to think big. Keller says, the size of your thinking determines the size of your results. And here is something powerful. Big goals and small goals require almost the same amount of effort. Both require you to show up. Both require focus. Both require work, but one changes your life, and one just keeps you busy. Think bigger, always. Now here is the heart of the entire book, the focusing question. What is the one thing I can do, such that, by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? Read that again. Not, what is the most important thing? Not, what should I do today? What is the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? That word, unnecessary, is everything, because the goal is not to have a shorter to-do list. The goal is to find the thing that makes the to-do list almost irrelevant. Keller uses a beautiful metaphor for this. He calls it the domino effect. A single domino can knock over another domino 1.5 times its size, which means if you line up dominoes each 1.5 times bigger than the last, starting from a 2-inch domino, by the 57th domino, you would knock over something the size of the distance between the Earth and the Moon. That is the power of sequential focused action. You do not need to do everything. You need to find the first domino, the one that knocks over all the others. That is your one thing. But here's where most people fail even after understanding this. They apply the focusing question to today, but not to their life. Keller says, ask the focusing question at every level for your life. What is the one thing I want to achieve most for your year? What is the one thing I need to do this year to move toward that? For your month, for your week, for today, for right now, always narrowing, always focusing. Until you arrive at the single most important action you can take, right now, and then you do that, before anything else. No exceptions. Now this part is critical. Keller introduces the concept of time blocking, and he says, most people protect their meetings, their lunch breaks, their social plans, but they do not protect their most important work. He recommends block 4 hours every single morning for your one thing, not 2 hours, not 1 hour. 4. Put it in your calendar like a meeting with the most important person in your life, because it is. That meeting is with your future self. And here is the rule, nothing gets that time. Not emails, not calls, not meetings. Not notifications, 4 hours. Every morning, your one thing, everything else, after. And let me be honest with you, this will feel uncomfortable at first. People will want your time. Distractions will feel urgent. Your own brain will try to convince you that other things matter more. That is the resistance. And that resistance is exactly why most people never build anything extraordinary, Keller says. Until your one thing is done for the day, everything else is a distraction. Everything. He ends the book with something that stayed with me. He says, a life well lived is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Most people reach the end of their life having been incredibly busy, but not having done the things that mattered most, not because they lacked time. Because they never identified their one thing and spent their entire lives doing everything else instead. 1 year from now, you will either have gone deep on the one thing that truly matters, or you will still be spreading yourself thin, across everything, making progress on nothing. The question is not what should you do more of. The question is, what is your one thing? And are you protecting the time to do it? If this shifted something, share it with someone who is trying to do too much. Subscribe to Luminary Reads. Every week we break down books that actually change lives. Drop a comment below. What is your one thing right now? The one thing that if you did it, everything else would become easier. I read every single one. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.